Pump it up, pump it up. Trae. Come on, come on. With Trae. Pump it up, pump it up. It's the day with Trae. This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. We made it to the end of the week. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Want to welcome you to a fantastic feel-good Friday. First off, we're going to be getting some real information about the Green Hill campaign that's going on right now. Definitely some things that we need to be tapping into as a community. We got one of our I'm telling y'all, one of the most phenomenal community organizers I know, Ayan Musse, is in the building. My elder sis, I love her to death, and I'm so glad that she's going to be giving us some insight that we can all understand how to tap in to really helping those who are finding themselves in a unfortunate situation at best, and probably she can tell us what's at worst. But I'm glad that she's here to shed some light on that. And later on in the show, y'all, my very own theater mentors in the building, Justin Emeka, film and theater directors, here to shine some light on his history and also some of the films that he had showcasing at this past weekend's Seattle Black Film Festival. So I'm so excited to have y'all joining me on this Friday. Of course, it is the top of the show, y'all. So it is a perfect time for you to participate in our growth here on the Day with Trae. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with folks who you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on the Day with Trae. And you know what? If you can't watch our show, don't trip. We got you covered, because you can listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae. You'll find me on whichever platform is your favorite. There's like 200, y'all. So just search your favorite one and you will find us there. Well, before I get into it with Miss Ayan here today, as you can see, I got my Weird at Night hat on. I just had to give a whole shout out to the Weird at Night crew. Oh, how much I adore and appreciate y'all. Those episodes are epic. The entire show is. So I had to give them a huge shout out today. But I'm also excited because I get to talk to someone I'm always working with in community. Miss Ayan, hi.
Hi, love. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed.
Well, you know, you're always at the forefront of some phenomenal Black liberation movement work that is always happening on the ground. And now it sounds like we need to tune an ear to what's going on at Green Hill. And before we kind of get to it, I just want to talk a bit about your history, because you have been organizing for a really long time. And for those who may not know, just tell us about what got you started in community organizing.
Well, first and foremost, I actually want to really thank you for the work that you're doing. And just the fact that this is our voice, and that you're giving us back life and liberating us in a different way. Organizing is one of those things that, as Black women, we had no choice. In order to continue to thrive, in order to breathe, in order to even make it to the next day, we had to do it. For some, it's a choice. Unfortunately, and fortunate for us, it wasn't a choice. It's just our daily life. As a parent, as a Black woman, as a partner, we had no choice in it. Every corner that you look, we are the target. So when you find yourself in those predicaments, you gotta roll up your sleeves and do what you gotta do. For some, like I said, it's a choice. Unfortunately for Black women, and fortunate for us, we had leadership that showed us that we're not gonna be slowed down, and we're gonna fulfill our own movement. And we're gonna pick up one another, and when one of us is down, I got you, sis.
Yeah.
So I was blessed.
Yeah, well, I can say that I've experienced those blessings myself through folks like yourself. So thank you for always pouring into me the ways that you have. And honestly, this platform wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for folks like yourself, you know, always encouraging me to keep going and allowing me to understand the importance of not only this platform, but of us having media that we own where we can really shine a light on the stories that often wouldn't be told. So I just thank you for that. Almost every time I look around, Ayan, you are involved, okay? So I just gotta say,
about you.
you know, it's a beautiful thing because it is such a blessing to have so many dedicated folks in our community who are always at the forefront of these movements. And I gotta give a huge shout out to KL, who's not on camera, y'all, but KL is also one of those folks who is always pouring in to the community. So I gotta say, let's talk about these specifics here, because I wanna give this some time. What is going on at Green Hill? What do we need to know?
What's fortunate is the young people that are inside are giving their own voice back to the community and making it quite clear that they need us to step up. So once more, as parents, as elders, as siblings, we're gonna step in. It's really their voice, because if they didn't pick up the phones and tell their parents, tell their siblings, we wouldn't even be sitting with one another. And it's unfortunate because the truth of the matter is, as a state, we're already aware of this. It's been in King. We're not the first media that's been doing this. Fox News has done it. I believe it was King also that had did it. There were different conversations that had been had, but unfortunately, we're still not enough. We're still not being heard. So I think my question really becomes, when will these young people's voice matter? When somebody actually is 6 feet under? Because at this point, we're failing young people. You know, as a state, there's rules and regulations. You keep talking about rehabilitation, this, that, and the other. Matter of fact, Green Hill is called a school. There's nothing educational or healing or rehabilitation. Matter of fact, if you look at even the services that they're doing, they're barely doing the minimum. And then you're seeing the effects happen on the other end with the young people. You're seeing drugs coming in, not by young people, because again, once more, they don't go in and out. How do we know this? Some of the staff are now speaking up. So I'm wondering when our governor, our attorney general, who's also running as a governor, are going to take a hold of this. I'm wondering, do we have to lose a life? Because these young people have already made it clear what's happening, what needs to happen.
So y'all have got this Green Hill campaign going so that folks can become aware. I mean, as you said, there's been some media outlets that have shined a light on the conditions of Green Hill and really how young folks are finding themselves living in some horrendous conditions. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. But now y'all are really pulling community together to say, what can we do as a collective to change the trajectory for these young people there? What are some of the things that y'all are doing to pull community into these efforts?
So Kids Are Kids in general was formed in 2016, 2017. And it really was out of the love of a young person in community that was very connected to different community members. Because we all stepped in a bit differently and poured life into it and kept showing up, we kind of realized we don't do that for everybody. So how do we make sure that we do that? So ever since then, we've been really looking at parents and even auto decline. And auto decline really is when you are dealing with being sentenced as an adult. And what's humane about a person that can't vote, can't do anything, but yet can be sentenced as an adult and sometimes for life. Something got to be wrong with that system. As we all know, the brain development, yet still our criminal justice system, or unjust, still hasn't caught up to certain things. So really, honestly, we're coming together as community. We're trying to stand with the parents. We're trying to stand with the siblings. And we're really trying to not speak for parents, but allow them. And even me sitting here isn't by choice. It's because parents couldn't put their faces on the line because there could be retaliation. Matter of fact, there is retaliation as we speak. Normally, I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But in this campaign, we didn't have a choice. Those of us that were blessed enough to have not a young person in there, we had to put our faces on the line so that we can protect the other parents.
Wow. I mean, this is really intriguing to me because first off, we already know the power of collectivism. And so it's great to be bringing community into these efforts. Right now, there are some ways that community can tap in. What are some of the things that folks can do who may have the ability to pour into this campaign? How are y'all bringing them along and making sure they understand what they can do? Because I know they can follow social handles and y'all are putting, you know, events out there. Y'all have things going on. What are some of those things that folks can do to tap in?
Definitely reconnect with us. Definitely get on our website. Definitely look at the webinar that we did. Definitely contact us, especially if you're a parent. If you have a loved one in there, we have plenty of parents that want to reconnect with you. We have plenty of parents that want to support you and give you back your humanity. Because right now, everybody's feeling individually left out and don't know how to support one another. So instead of crying by yourself, understand that you have some parents that are so ready. As you can see in the webinar, we read stories of parents, of young people. It was their voice. It wasn't any of our stories. We were just readers. We just happened to be the readers. So we're really trying to give it back. The first and foremost thing is if you're a family member, please connect with us.
Well, I want to do this right here because I think this is so important. I want you to look right there. Let them know, I mean, where do they connect? How do they see the webinar? This camera right here. Let them know so that we can put this message out there for folks.
There is a webinar, and hopefully you can put that under because I don't know it offhand. Get on that webinar because with that webinar, even though kids are kids led it, it was East Africa, it was Creative Justice, it was Team Child, it was Freedom Project. People put their names on the line to make sure that young people's voices and families were honored. Agencies stood together so that voices were heard. It's really, really important that you also pick up the phone, email politicians, ask, especially on a year that people are running. Yes, attorney generals need to be questioned on what needs to happen. We have right now, as we speak, a DOC community member that running it. Jason O'Donnell, he needs to go. We need to be really vocal about who needs to go. And we're asking for that out of necessity because we can see people are being stuck for 12 hours without bathroom. Something's inhumane about that part. A penal system that even forgets humanity, there's nothing rehabilitation about any of that.
Yeah. Well, I know Kids Are Kids Law as you mentioned, some of those other Creative Justice Freedom Project, Team Child. These are all organizations that folks can tap into to find that webinar and make sure that they plug in. Ayan, thank you for the work you're doing always, and thank you for coming here to shed some light on this and being the voice for families who can't utilize their voice in this way. I so appreciate you for shedding some light on this.
I thank you, because without you or Amari or Converge, over and over and over, our voices would not matter. So from one Black woman to another, I love you, I thank you, keep doing your work. Without this, we don't have a voice.
Wow.
So thank you.
Ashe, thank you. Oh my God, y'all, I'm telling you. I know that's some serious information, but it also is feel good because you actually have a way to tap in. Please connect with those agencies, those organizations that are coming together to shine light on this situation here and on this campaign. Not only the stories told in the webinar, but you have an opportunity to reach out to your local officials, your elected officials, the folks that you voted for, and ask them what are they doing about this unfortunate crisis that's happening for our young people over at Green Hill. Y'all, this is the time for you to tap in. Well, after this short break, I have the pleasure and the honor to speak to Justin Emeka, who's coming up next, my childhood mentor in theater and arts. I'm so excited to talk to him about his projects and how he found himself as a director of theater and film. Y'all don't want to miss this amazing feel-good Friday right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
1 in every 500 African Americans in the U.S. suffers from sickle cell disease. 1 in 3 African American blood donors is a match for patients with sickle cell. 1 appointment to donate blood with the American Red Cross can help save a life. Will you be that one? Visit redcrossblood.org/ourblood today to schedule an appointment at a location near you.
Start the show.
What's up, everybody? Trae Holiday here with a special announcement. Something Sexy for the City is coming to our town, Tacoma Dome, May 3rd. You want to get your tickets today because you want to see Ashanti, Monica, Maya, Kiki Wyatt, and Anne Marie. Y'all, I have the pleasure of emceeing this phenomenal concert. Join me and get your tickets today for an epic performance from these R&B divas.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I now have the pleasure and the honor of talking to Justin Emeka. What's up, Justin?
How you doing, Trae?
I'm delighted right now. I'm so delighted. You were here for a short time, and I'm so glad we could get you here in the Black Media Matters studios on The Day with Trae. You really have been so inspirational to me, and this show is really about uplifting, inspiring stories. I want to hear about your beginnings in art, in theater. I got connected with you. You were still like doing so many things here in the Seattle scene. Yeah. Tell us about those beginnings.
Well, one, it's so inspiring to be here with you. You were one of my first students when I first started teaching at Garfield High School. So to be here now with you is just, it's amazing, you know, and to really see the work that you're doing. But I started, you know, as a young child who just loved being on stage, who loved telling stories, who loved attention. My father, it was in the military, so I moved around a lot, you know, and so theater was always like my salvation, my safe space, you know. Every time I would move, I would look, see where's a play happening, a church, a community center, you know, wherever. And Seattle was one of the first like homes, artistic homes that I really found. You know, I would move around a lot, and I would even come back to Seattle. You know, no matter where I was, in Wichita, Kansas, I lived, I would come and fly back for the summers and do theater programs and do plays and stuff. And so that's, you know, theater just kind of kept me going. In Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center in Seattle, that became one of my early homes as well. You know, from there, I just continued to keep auditioning and doing stuff.
Well, you know, you came to Garfield at such a phenomenal time in my life. When I, just in 10th grade, the year before, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go after, you know, a role.
Yes.
And I end up getting the lead. And it was so interesting because it was such a interesting story. You know, she goes, okay, who here is willing to dye their hair bright red? And I was the only one who didn't raise my hand, because I'm like, my mom and dad would have a fit. Like, they ain't going for it. And sure enough, I still got the role, right? And they were like, well, you were the best. So we, you know, we figured out this temporary situation for your hair to be red, and it worked out. But it was really, it was one of those things for me where it was like, I'd done some things in elementary, but that was like the beginning where I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. And I felt like I really found like a home for the weird stuff that was going on in my head, and to be able to really take characterization seriously, which I learned from you. And so thank you so much for gracing Garfield High School with your talents. I mean, you know, we have a little clip here because you surprised me. We got a little clip of Trae Holiday in the early times.
Yes.
This was what? Where the Wild Things At, yeah?
Where the Wild Things At. We did an adaptation of Where the Wild Things Are called Where the Wild Things At. You know, about a young boy and his sister trying to read, who he couldn't quite read. He was like the first six years old, trying to read the story, so they made up their own version. And, you know, you were the young sister, and we had a wonderful time, didn't we?
Such a great time. Y'all, I'm excited. I just want y'all to see this clip right quick. This is me, Garfield High School, y'all, in the 90s, doing Where the Wild Things At. Take a look.
Where was I? Oh, here I am. The night Edward wore his wolf suit. See, that's me, Edward.
I thought his name was something else, like Axe or something.
You must be thinking of a different story.
Can't believe that. Oh my gosh, me and Jimmy, that was amazing times. But really, I have talked about, you know, my early beginnings, and that's the first time I got to actually show the audience me on stage at that time. So thank you. But that was a part of a movie that actually was in the the Black Seattle Film Festival, where you have a short movie just about your career. Tell us more about some of the things that were really the pillars to getting you to say, I get to do this on stage, and now I'm gonna go into directing. Tell us more about that transition.
Well, a lot of, you know, going from acting on stage to directing has had to do about like who gets to control the story, who gets to control the narrative, you know. And as an actor, I found more and more like just kind of a natural inclination to want to help shape the story itself, you know. And so that's really what led me to directing a lot on stage. And from a fairly young age, I mean, because I acted a lot through my teens, and then I started directing in my early 20s, you know, is when I started directing and telling stories from that perspective.
Yeah, well, it's always exciting to me. You know, earlier this week we had Timothy McEwen, Big A, on, and you know, he was giving you a shout out too, because you know, it's interesting when you have found yourself in the front of the stage and then behind the stage, in a sense, and really helping to garner the story. It's like you're bringing something to life as you see it. What have been some of those phenomenal moments for you throughout your career?
Oh man, there's, you know, so many. Every time you get to tell a story on stage, it's a blessing. You know, I mean, I feel like there are stories that are locked up inside our DNA that we don't even know. You know, that we spend a lifetime trying to unlock and trying to express and trying to tell. And that's one of the beautiful things about theater, is that we're getting to express, you know, emotions and characters that are a piece of who we are, that we can't express in everyday life, you know? So we're keeping them alive, they're keeping us alive, you know? I've done a lot of incredible things. You know, one that stands out is a all-black production of King Lear with Avery Brooks as King Lear and playing his son in that play was, you know, incredible. You know, directing all-black production of Midsummer Night's Dream and Classical Theater of Harlem was another thing. You know, like taking Shakespeare and saying, well, what happens to Shakespeare when you unapologetically put black culture in it, not just black bodies and black people, but black culture into the storytelling, the hip-hop rhythms, different style, you know, and so that's one of the things that I did as a director. But I've also directed August Wilson, also directed Lorraine Hansberry, Raisin in the Sun. That was one of the things that you helped me do, you know. So I've really had a lifetime, a beautiful life in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think one of the things that I really appreciate about my childhood and my coming up in theater was the opportunities that were given to me, right? Because I realized, you know, it was so funny. Y'all, I called him when I was at Howard and I'm like, I don't know about theater anymore. I think I'm gonna switch my major. And you said something to me that stuck with me because you were like, oh, it's always gonna be in you no matter what you do. And I was like, I think he's right, you know, I think he's right. But I found that I really developed, I loved developing characters.
Yes.
And when I got to Howard, a lot of folks didn't have that. Like, you know, they didn't understand how to do characterization. But it was also because we got to explore the writing side and creating characters through my work with you. And so it really shines a light on some of the things that I do today, because you couldn't have told me when I saw Felicia V. Loud and Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. I know you were in that play too. But when I saw that play, that I would years later, you know, all these years later, have my own like TV show. So this is really a dream come true, and to have you here is a major dream for me. But I want to say that you as a director in film, I just saw some clips and of the films that you had in the film festival. Tell us about what it was like to bring some of those characters to life through film. I mean, you're working with Rel B. Free. I saw Jasmine Scott in there. So many phenomenal folks right here from Seattle that really helped to shine a light on that specific story. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, that story, Biological, short film, is really, it encapsulates a lot of just my life, you know, and people I know and people I've met. And that's really, again, what inspires me as a storyteller, is to try and reflect the legacies of the people around me, you know, who inspire me. And that's, I mean, because so much in the arts, we inspire each other. Just like you mentioned, you called out Felicia Loud, you know, and she might not have even known how much of an impact she made on your life, you know. And that's what we do as artists, though. We try and tell these stories that help breathe inspiration into the masses, into the people around us, you know. And so again, every time it's just an honor. I've really enjoyed like moving into film. It's like a new medium, but there's a lot of similarities coming from the theater, but it's like a new adventure for me. So I'm having a lot of fun just figuring out and finding my artistic voice in film now.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, your eye is spot on, right? I mean, I think there's always something that's different from theater to film is camera angle, which tells a lot about the way that you're going about shaping a story and bringing the story to life for the audience. And that's something that I appreciate in some of my production work too, because when I went back to school and got my degree in communications, it was all about video production. And I'm telling you, there was something that was so special to me about shallow depth of field and changing the way that I would do a first person movement versus, you know, a wide shot to set the tone. There's all of these things that I think really take heed when you think about film from theater. And even when you're stage managing theater, there's some elements there that are, you're right, are so similar. But I also gotta say, I mean, you came in with capoeira. You introduced me to capoeira, and through movement, I think sometimes people don't realize how much movement is such a part of storytelling. How have you been able to continuously tie the two? Yeah,
well, capoeira Angola has been something, a practice of mine that I've been doing for almost over 25 years, you know. I was taught by Master Juranji from Brazil. And I've just had an opportunity. I've traveled to Brazil and studied the art form, and there's music, it's movement, it's fight, it's strategy, it's game, it's all these different things. African history is also tied up in it, and so it brought together all these things in my life that I was just kind of looking for. So capoeira really kind of helped me put it all together, and very naturally, it's just started to inform my work in theater. And in film to an extent, but like you said, movement, how we move tells the story, and so much of acting on stage is the physical conversation. We have the verbal conversation, but the conversation of bodies that tells the story, which is what capoeira really helped kind of shape my eye for, and so every opportunity I get, you might hear a little of the music, a little of the rhythm, or just see a little bit in the swagger of how they move. There's a little bit of echoes of capoeira in much of my work.
Yeah. Well, when you think about, moving forward, I mean, you've done so many great things in the world of art. What are some of those things you're like, you know what, I'm still looking forward to doing this or that?
Yeah.
Tell us about how you kind of foresee you continuously pouring into the world of arts.
Well, there's so many things that I still want to do as an artist. I mean, as an artist, my favorite thing is always what I'm working on right now, and once I'm kind of done with it, then I move on to the next. That's kind of what keeps me inspired, and there's not a lot of looking back, honestly. I can't, it's always looking forward. I still haven't made a feature-length film. I haven't, written a TV series or run a TV series is something that I might want to do. Maybe want to run a theater someday, there's just a lot of artistic challenges still out there on the horizon that inspire me,
Well, I gotta say, your work here in the Pacific Northwest inspired so many like myself. And it's interesting when I run into one of my pals from our theater troupe that it's like those times were priceless for all of us. So thank you again for pouring in to all of us that you poured into here, not only at Langston, but also at Garfield and everywhere else you've been, because you've been a professor, you've done so many different things that we didn't even touch on today.
Yeah.
Of course, if folks want to continue to follow you and your artistic journey, look right there, let them know how they stay connected.
Follow me on Instagram at Jemeka1, Jemeka 1, and also JustinEmeka.com. You can also find out about what's going on with me and my latest work there.
Oh, amazing. Justin, thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure and
this
privilege.
Is like
and
the
thank
best
you
way.
for continuing all this work, because it's not easy. Making a life in the arts is not easy. And so I really appreciate that you're, continue to persevere in your work.
Absolutely. Well, this is the best way I could have ended this week. So thank you so much for joining me today. Anytime you're in town, feel free to stop by. We can always chop it up and see what you're doing next, what you're pouring into next.
Yeah.
This is a show for you as well, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all, we are going to be wrapping up this amazing Feel Good Friday right after this short break. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Here on Back to Vesa, it's always been important to me that we uplift stories from across the region, and that no matter where you live in the nation, you never have to miss a moment of the show as we continue to highlight the beauty, excellence, and resilience of our communities across the Pacific Northwest. Why? Because representation matters. So no matter where you live, be it the Central District or Centralia, Portland or Pullman, or anywhere across the country, I encourage you to join me on this Back to Vesa journey by downloading the free Fox Local app on your phone or smart TV as we continue to elevate the very best in our communities.
Looking for laughs? Looking for love? Fast Talking Figaro has got you covered. Toe-tapping melodies, lively staging, and colorful costumes. Don't miss The Barber of Seville, May 4th through 19th at McCaw Hall. Tickets at seattleopera.org.
The importance to share the history of the Buffalo Soldiers of Seattle and Buffalo Soldiers of everywhere. including cowboys and cowgirls of color everywhere, is really important because most likely they're forgotten. It's important that they're acknowledged, especially for girls like me who look up to them.
At a rodeo, it's got an impact on people when they see somebody doing something like that, especially a person of color, you know what I mean? It's got a big impact on people, I think.
Representing the Evergreen State, I am your Miss Teen Rodeo Washington, Jessa Thomas. Welcome to the Windswept Farm.
Welcome back, y'all, to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Woo-hoo. When I tell you what a wonderful week it has been, I'm so grateful to my guest here today. You know, Miss Ayan Musse is somebody who is always pulling me up with her. You know, I'm so grateful for folks like her and so many of the amazing organizers that often don't show their face in media like this, but I get to experience them pouring their heart out in community in ways y'all would not even imagine. So huge shout out to her. Make sure you tap in with these entities. We got Creative Justice, Team Child, we got Freedom Project. There's so many Kids Are Kids Washington, so many great organizations that are pouring into uplifting the stories of those families that are impacted by the horrible conditions happening at Green Hill. So please tap in and find your way to help out and make sure that we can pour in as a community by uplifting this with our elected officials. Y'all know you can always send an email and let them know how you feel. All right. And of course, huge shout out to my childhood and continual mentor, Justin Emeka. It's just warmed my heart to have him here on the Day with Trae. And I'm holding it back, y'all, because I'm so inspired by all of those who have poured into me along the way. And he is, I'm telling you, it's top tier when it comes to my life and me finding my pathway in the world of arts. You know, no matter what it is that you're doing, when you find that pathway and you have the people that are pouring into you, dive in deep, y'all, because when you do, you get to discover other elements of yourself that you didn't know existed. And that's really what's happened for me. And this show is a culmination of all of that. I get to be myself in media. I didn't want to be put in a box, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay on stages. So I had to bring all of my expertise and my experience and my bubbly passion right here to the Day with Trae to continue to uplift inspiring stories for you all to find your way to be a part of the solution. Y'all know, for me, until next week, I actually am going to be taking a week off. Can you believe it? So I think we'll have a guest host here for you, but I will definitely be back after that on a Monday at 11 a.m. Until then, y'all, peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.